Hello and welcome back to Just Another Football Podcast, a special, long-form Manchester United edition, who are taking yet another shot at success after coming up on a decade of underperformance and underachievement. He's coming with his own set of questions surrounding him, and Man United have their own set of questions surrounding them and their future under Ten Hag, whether his recruitment fits them, whether their players fit his style, and all of that. So we decided to take Man United and unpack everything there is to unpack as much as possible. We could have written a book, we could have gone on for a decade. There would be still more to talk about. But this is a two-part episode. In the first part, we have Riemer Jager. At this point, it's fair to say he's our Dutch correspondent. He was with us before, covering the Netherlands for the Euros in 2021. And now he comes back to discuss Erik Ten Hag as an Ajax fan himself, how he fits Man United, but also some of the details about him that we might have not known of before, how he's dealt with Dutch media in the past, how he's dealt with individual players and some of the stories about dealing with Ajax players and youngsters and how his man management works, and a lot more about Erik Ten Hag. And in the second part, we have TikToker Fez the Red with over 31,000 followers, and we hear from him what he wants from Man United, what his expectations are, and how they should build up for the next season, and what they should achieve. So without further ado, the next voice you're going to hear is our host for the day, Fergal Kerr, who will be with Riemer for the first part, and Fergal is then joined by our co-host, George, and by Fez the Red for the second part about Manchester United themselves. Enjoy the episode, and don't forget to spread the word about the episode around, review it on Apple Podcasts, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're over there. Fez the Red's TikTok is going to be in the description as well. So enjoy the episode, and make sure to follow us on Twitter at JAFP_pod. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter. All the links you're going to find down in the description or the show notes, wherever you're listening from. And enjoy this show, and I'll see you next time.
So, I'm joined by Riemer, our Dutch correspondent. You're welcome back to the podcast. It's been a while since we've been speaking with you, but great to have you back, Riemer.
It's been a while. Thank you very much. I'm honored to be back.
Thanks. So yeah, we're on to talk about Ten Hag, and is he all that's cracked up to be? In the English media, he's the man that's gonna solve all of Man United's problems. You know, it was between him and Pochettino. I would have personally went for Pochettino if I was Man United. He's got the Premier League experience, and I like what he's about. I don't know an awful lot about Ten Hag, and I'm hoping you've got all the answers for me, Riemer, or some of them at least. But how is he perceived in Dutch football? Do people hold him up there in the highest regards? Is he, how close to Cruyff is he in terms of greatness? How does he stand up?
We do hold him in very high regards. I think he's perceived. There are like two camps. I think the Ajax fans love him because, of course, he's won pretty much everything since he came here. He's done well in the Champions League, and then there's this, of course, like our rivals hate him because he did well with Ajax, but objectively, I think he's done amazing. Especially seeing how Ajax always loses their best players after a great season. You've seen that in 2019 with De Ligt and Frenkie de Jong. But there is there are some side notes. Some say he's arrogant.
You need a bit of that, though, don't you? If you're a top manager. And that's you know what I mean. I don't want to cause any divides, but the Dutch are well known for their arrogance at times, so it suits that profile as well.
Exactly. So he's very stubborn, I think, and that's something people don't really. If you're neutral, you might not like how stubborn he is in defending his players, and um, his cooperation with the media. Sometimes it's a bit rusty with how stubborn he is. But seeing
would it be a
his
bit like Klopp?
performances,
Like if it's not going his way, he can be very abrasive,
yeah,
or and then back his players to the hilt.
he is. He is. He does hold a very high standard um, for his own players as well. We've seen that in the first few weeks at United. I think it's also something you always see when a new manager steps in. Players will always say like the standard of training is so high and we're doing so great in preseason. So it is that is a bit of a cliche, but I think he does hold a high standard for players, and that is something you will see at United. Like bad touch will be shouted at from the management, and like it you will see improvement in that, I think. So, but going back to your question, I do think his performances have been amazing. I think he's the second best manager at Ajax ever
Wow.
in the Eredivisie, purely based on stats. So that is something to keep in mind. It's the stats. So he is a top manager for Ajax. From Ajax's perspective.
Where does he rank within your within your own lifetime of what being a supporter of Ajax? Is he up there at the top of what you've seen, or does anybody rank higher?
He is at the top, I think. I'm not that old yet, luckily, so I haven't been alive during the time of the great managers at Ajax.
Yeah.
But I do think Frank de Boer deserves some praise. He's been a very bad manager elsewhere, but when he came at Ajax, there was almost a civil war going on within the club, and how he managed to step up and win 4 titles with the bad financial situation as well. So, but that was a different time, and I do think in my lifetime, Ten Hag has been the best. He's also been here for 4 or 5 years. Yeah, for sure, he's up there.
Great.
And the long time he needed to implement his whole style of play is also something that worries me for United.
Right.
Because I do fear that the results may come later if he does get the time. I've seen some jokes about how he will be gone at Christmas, and I do fear for him a little if the United board don't give him the time that he will need.
So you wouldn't be surprised if they don't hit the ground running on they're perhaps round about where they were last season at the start.
I wouldn't completely. I don't think it's impossible for them to hit the ground running, but his whole style of play does require some kind of knowledge of the tactics and cohesion within the team, and I think that's something that United lack. There's also a certain level of vision and technique you will need, and I am worried that that's something that United are lacking. For of course they would be able to do it in the Eredivisie because everyone we could play there, but in the Premier League, yeah, it's a whole different game. So
yeah, moving to that then, is there, so still speaking about Ten Hag here, is there any what limitations or is there anything he will struggle with moving to England, whether that be personal, whether that be tactical? Do you foresee anything that he might struggle with in that regard?
I think he will struggle with the press. His relation with the Dutch press has been pretty odd at times.
Yeah.
Like he can be pretty angry or upset with the press, and I do think England is, of course, it's the most
it's a lot
feud.
harsher. They're quite brutal at times.
Yeah. We've seen that right after his announcement, there was someone from Sky at the Ajax training ground, and he just drove off, and the reporter was like, "Yeah, that won't go down well in England or something."
Yeah.
So that's something he will need to change, or his performances have to be so great that that's taken for granted.
Yeah. It's so good that can be overlooked. In terms of the players that are already at Man United, who do you think is going to make the cut? Or who do you think is definitely out? Won't last. It won't last. Maybe not this summer, but by the end of the season, no, I don't want them. They have to go.
That's difficult to say. I think I am pretty interested to see how Harry Maguire will do.
Definitely, I think everybody, that's the most interesting one, definitely, because at times in his career he's looked great coming out from the back. It was one of the things that he actually made him quite a unique player. The fact that he was so big and able to dribble out from the back and even find a good pass. And that's just something that seems to have completely dropped away from his game. Maybe that be through lack of confidence, or maybe it's just at the top level he can't quite do it. So yeah, Harry Maguire is one that would be fascinating to see how he gets on.
I think that is a fact. Ten Hag might be able to turn it around, like to get him back on his top game, and because it's not that he just lacks the level. He's just worse than he was at Leicester.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that might be we might see a change in that, and I am very interested to see if they get Martinez from Ajax, which we might get onto in a minute.
No, yeah, he's the centre back. He's a good bit shorter than Maguire, but it'd be definitely a change in style in terms of that way to go for Martinez.
I think that might be they might suit each other. Like one big centre back who can and win the headers, and Martinez isn't too bad at heading and winning challenges.
Yeah.
Because he has the timing and the jump and the reach. So, but they might add to each other. So I do think he will actually make the cut. It's also a bit of a gut feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm interested to see how Jadon Sancho will do.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think he fits the style of play of Ten Hag pretty well.
Yeah.
With his pace and his
is Ten Hag someone that'll sort of doesn't mind a player doing tricks and especially the attacking players? Does he give them a freedom, or are they quite regimented where they have to be?
In general, his players do have a lot of freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Like his formation often starts with a 4-2-3-1,
mm-hmm.
and then the formation is it's so dynamic in his tactics that you'll often end up with the right wing back further up the field than the winger.
Mm-hmm.
And as we've seen at Ajax, it was very important. It's also very, very important within the club culture, just to be brave and to do tricks and to entertain.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's also important for United culture. Maybe a little less so, but so I do think Ten Hag will be stimulating his doing trick actions. So yeah, I do think he will be a good fit for Ten Hag actually. And the last one I wrote down is, of course, the most important, Ronaldo.
Yeah. Again, he hasn't gone with the team for pre-season. Either for family issues. I don't know if family issues means finding a house near London, perhaps. But he looks like he's definitely trying to force a move. Chelsea are interested. As a Chelsea fan, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't, unless we got him on a really good deal, I wouldn't be too keen. But do you think Ten Hag would want to keep him, being the big ego there as well, and all that comes with having United in your team?
I think Ronaldo is such a big leader within a team that he will want to keep him. What I am worried about is Ten Hag also demands a very extreme press at times, and I don't know if Ronaldo has both the fitness and, of course, he's very fit, but especially the commitment to the press, like to doing the work and to putting in.
He definitely conserves it himself for those with those bursts of pace, and I'm pretty sure he's got, in terms of strikers, he's in the bottom percentile, 1% for pressures last season. I'm pretty sure that was the stat going around. So yeah, I can't imagine him all of a sudden changing his ways to be ultra hard working striker.
Yeah, that won't happen. I'm afraid, but Ten Hag might be able to, like we had Haller last season, and of course he isn't the fastest or the most hardworking. He isn't lazy as well, but he's not the fastest, and he will find a way around it with his tactics and his press. So that might be able to work with Ronaldo as well. It's just, I don't know if Ronaldo has the commitment to United and to the team to give his all for the tactics. But I think he's such a big winner and such a big leader that you'd be crazy not to keep him, except for the wages that he's on.
But that's the wages, I don't think, are a massive issue for Man United. I think it is more about has Ten Hag had to deal with any big egos, big names while he's been at Ajax, or has he always been sort of the biggest name at the club once he got himself established?
Well, we do have some egos, but of course not at the level that United, United have a lot
there's
more
no Ronaldo there.
big names.
There's only one Ronaldo.
Yeah, Ronaldo is probably the biggest name you can have in your team, with Messi. But we do have some egos like Dusan Tadic, who's such a big character and such a big leader as well. But I do think he has a different character, and there's never been an issue there. The biggest thing at Ajax in his time has been both the Overmars case and the Onana case. For the listeners who aren't up to speed, Overmars was sent away by Ajax because of sexually abusive behavior towards women at the club. Well, he sent explicit messages, and that is something that I think there will be a thing in the dressing room as well, that there will be a story and there will be, it's been a thing at the club for a long time.
Right.
And Onana, of course, that's something of ego management that you did see shine through with how we will manage things at United. The result for him is the most important by far. Onana was suspended for doping, use of doping, and when he came back, it was already known that he would go to Inter Milan, and Ten Hag used him because the team needed a good goalkeeper. Then he sucked, but still the decision he was the worst keeper we've had in years. So I hope for his career in Italy that that's not something that will stay. But that is something that Ten Hag, he showed his cards regarding ego management, where he said, well, the team needs a great goalkeeper, so I'm not gonna just bench you, even though he did a while later because he was so shit, and he said the fans can fuck off pretty much.
Yeah, that's one way to ruin your time at the club.
It's not been a great end for him at the club.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned Overmars there, obviously the now disgraced Overmars, but my understanding of it is that Overmars and along with Van der Sar have been running the club, running the recruitment of it, and doing like Ten Hag was able to focus on the coaching of a lot of it. He's going into United where there's very unclear as to what the actual structure is, and it seems like a lot of the onus has been put on him to make decisions about who he wants, and it looks like something that he's maybe demanded. How do you think he's going to deal with the aspects of building a squad and his talent ID and that sort of thing, without having the structure of an Ajax around
him? Well, in that regard, the Overmars thing might have helped him prepare for the United job. When Overmars,
a big disaster around you.
Yeah. When Overmars was sent away, was fired, Ten Hag took over some of his tasks. So the team management, like the managing of the squad, and just who are we going to sell? At the time, we weren't aware that he was going to try to buy all of our players. But
you do the thing in Football Manager when you know you're going to leave, so you put a few release clauses in there.
Yeah, €1.
Yeah.
But he does have a history of being like a general director of football, combined with the coaching role.
Okay.
He did do that at Go Ahead Eagles in the Netherlands, which is, of course, the level is, there isn't even a comparison between the two levels, but he
has had some experience doing it. Yeah,
he has had some experience, which might help. However, the United job is so much, like, it entails so much more that I don't know if that's.
It's hard to say what like United's structure is just so unclear. There's so many people that seem to be floating in their responsibility just above the head coach, but it's not very clear as to what the structure is. It seems like that's something they're working on to really put in place. But by the looks of it, with some of the transfers that we'll now come on to that they're getting linked to, it does seem like Ten Hag is naming the players that he wants, and they're trying best to do that. We've already mentioned Martinez. Anthony is the other player that's getting linked today. I saw it was 106 million. I don't know if that was sterling or euro. That was for both Lisandro Martinez and Anthony.
It is a lot of money for Ajax.
Yeah. I was literally listening to a podcast there about of course you've just signed Bergwijn, and how significant it is that the fact that Ajax have went and bought from the Premier League back again. It's not a path that's usually trodden, especially when you've got someone like Bergwijn who maybe hasn't made it at Spurs, but he's still in the prime of his career, looking to do more. So they've got it sounds like Ajax are very secure in their finances. They can basically name their price as to what they want for each player they have.
We do have to sell each year to stay afloat, but we did sell Haller, which is we didn't sell him. We sold him for like 35 million euros. And we sold Gravenberg, which I was surprised not to see United linked more to Gravenberg and Mazraoui, especially Mazraoui.
Yeah.
Now that the reports are seeping through that United are looking for a right wing back or a right back, which Mazraoui was a free agent and he fits perfectly in the.
I can answer why they didn't get it. They probably weren't organized. Let's face it, like that. They only just got the manager sorted like quite late on. And the way Bayern work, I can imagine the deal for Gravenberch and that's where he's going, isn't it? Bayern, and Mazraoui. I can imagine both of those were done deals secured long before Man United, woke up, so to speak. That's my guess as to why those deals went through, because absolutely a free on two players that have worked with Ten Hag before, and then Gravenberch, an upcoming player, makes so much sense.
Well, there is, for Mazraoui, there is a factor of him not being fit enough a lot of the times. And
Right.
I did see that he's going to earn like 10 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
And he has been injured for almost half the time he has been in Ajax under Ten Hag.
Okay.
It might be a bit of an exaggeration, but he has been injured a lot. So, yeah, there might be some financial management involved as well. If you have to pay him 10 million a year, why not look at your own squad first? So that is like a side note on that. But I was surprised that they weren't even trying for him. And I've seen, I'm surprised by Malacia being his first signing. Because Malacia, I am a fan of him.
Another player I really don't know much about. I've only taken notice of him since the links came through, and there's, I think, literally just the clips from the Europa League that the BT Sports page put out are all I've seen. So yeah, what is Malacia like?
He's a great fullback. But that is for the standards of the Eredivisie. So what I'm worried about is he, of course, has the label now that he's a Ten Hag player, because Ten Hag brought him in, and he's done all the business. So
yeah,
there's no reason for him not to be confident in that Malacia will perform. But I am worried that the step between Feyenoord and playing Conference League and Manchester United might be a bit too big. And I'm not sure if they brought him in as a second fullback or if he's gonna be a first 11 player.
Yeah,
it's a bit weird.
I mean, the right back position at United, it's really not clear. You've got Wan-Bissaka, who by all accounts just isn't fancied whatsoever, and might stick around this season, but it feels like he's one of the ones that the decision has already been made that he's not going to cut it. Then you've got Diego Dallo, who probably suits in style of play more the Ten Hag attack and fullback, wing back sort of player, but is he up to the standard of Ten Hag? We'll wait till we see. And then, as you say, you're bringing in then an Eredivisie right back.
Well, Malacia's a left back, so
left back. Sorry.
Will.
That shows you my research I've done.
No. He's not that well known. I think he will go to the World Cup, and that might be why they bought him now, because after the World Cup he might be more expensive if he does perform. If Wijndal goes to Ajax, there's an interesting rivalry there for who will play at the World Cup. But it just the fullback positions for Ten Hag are probably one of the most important positions in the whole team, because they play almost as like an attacking midfielder. They will drop in between the lines, or they will run in between the lines.
Very much like
wingers.
It's similar to the two top managers in the Premier League at the moment. Then that in Klopp and Guardiola, the importance of good fullbacks, and then Cancelo has been one of the best playmakers for Man City this year. So for Ten Hag, then they facilitate a similar role in playmaking progression of the pitch.
It's interesting because Ten Hag has worked under Guardiola. I'm not sure how much that has been in the news in England, but at Bayern, he was the second team coach when Guardiola was there.
Yeah.
And Guardiola has said that he's very impressed with Ten Hag's standard of work and how he manages teams. So I think there are a lot of similarities between him and Guardiola.
It was in Germany when Guardiola started doing the inverted wing back, wasn't it? With Lam and Alaba coming inside.
Yes.
Does Ten Hag, is it so whenever they're coming inside, is it further up the pitch than more of a defensive midfield position? It's more of a attacking midfield that they're sort of cutting in. Then is it?
Ten Hag's formation is so flexible that might even change depending on who they're playing. Like against Borussia Dortmund, you saw Mazraoui play a little more, a little lower on the field. But against opposition that like dig themselves in, Mazraoui will almost always play like on the edge of the box.
Right. Okay.
Which is very attacking, and that's something that worries me for Ten Hag's performance at United as well. It's one thing to do it at Ajax and like on occasion in the Champions League, but if you have to do it on a weekly basis in the Premier League, I'm kind of worried that they will be the counterattacks in the Premier League will be much more way faster and way more deadly than in the Eredivisie. So if his fullbacks aren't committed to running back and committed to or aren't comfortable with being attacking, I'm worried that might be an issue for him. Just the defensive stability of his team.
Okay. And then just to sort of finish, are there any other players that are on the move? I know Tagliafico just seems to have been linked away every summer for the past 10 years almost, it feels. And then Timbers has a lot of admirers as well. Do you foresee anybody else on the move this summer?
For United?
No, just in Ajax in general. Like how many of this team are expected to go?
Tagliafico is expected to go. He has like a clause of 4 million or something.
Oh wow!
Which I think it's really surprising that none of the Premier League clubs.
I know Chelsea were interested in him. Yeah,
it's like small change for Premier League teams.
Absolutely.
And he might not be a first 11 player, but for a backup wingback or backup fullback, he's a pretty good player.
He would probably do a job like if not a top 6 player. He would like 4 million for any team in the Premier League. He's definitely good enough for a mid-table side to start.
Yeah, and he has been pretty consistent. He's not been the best at the end of his Ajax career, but I'd take him maybe at any club in the Premier League, not for a first 11 player, but just like of course Manchester City and Liverpool might be a bit too high for him.
A team like Everton perhaps, where like they're really struggling for fullbacks. They've got Mikalenko in the Stade Digne. I can't think of their other left back now, but 4 million that'd be an absolute steal, and it's still a big club to go to Everton. Hopefully they'll be moving in the right direction. That's mad that for only 4 million. No, I haven't seen too many people interested in him.
No, I do think either Sevilla or Sociedad were interested in him.
Sevilla, that has Sevilla written all over it. He'll move to what do you call it, Monchi all over that. 4 million, a South American fullback. They love that. I could see that happening easily.
Win the Europa League.
Yeah, definitely, and then be sold for 50 million.
For 50 million.
And yeah, who else then are the ones we've mentioned, Martinez and Anthony, are they certain to go, or do you think there's any chance that they'll stay?
I think Martinez is pretty certain to go now. Ajax don't have to sell, but we often make arrangements with players when they arrive or when they sign a new contract that they are allowed to leave when the right bid comes in.
Yeah.
And I do think Ajax placed a 50 million price tag on him, excluding bonuses. And I don't think, like, United are on 50 million now, including bonuses. So I don't think that will be too much of an obstacle. And a big pull factor for Ajax is that you say to a player, well, if a big club comes in and you want to leave to the Premier League, you want to make your dream come true, we will let you go for the right amount of money. Yeah. And if you don't do that now, do you like kind of lose your pull factor towards South American players or players who want to use your club as a stepping stone?
Yeah.
So that's something to take in mind. I think he is going to go, probably to United as well, because Ten Hag is there. Although I'd like to see him at Arsenal as well. I think Arsenal are the other team that are very interested in him. And I think he is a great player for United. He's been amazing at Ajax. But one thing that worries me a little is that he's had like 3 hamstring injuries. And maybe that's just a coincidence, but I do fear that might be an issue in the long term.
Yeah, if it's a reoccurring one, yeah. If it keeps happening, the injury, then you know that's a worry. But I'm sure they'll do their research behind that. And then Anthony, do you think, what are the chances of him leaving if not United?
I was more certain of him leaving at the beginning of the summer. I do think now that we've sold Haller and Gravenberg, we don't really need the money anymore. So we've asked like 70 million for him, which is a lot of money. If the right bid comes in, I think he's gone.
Yeah, you can't turn down 70 million for Anthony.
No.
I don't know if he's worth 70 million.
I do think he's a special talent. I don't know about 70 million.
Yeah,
it's a lot of money. So I think he might go, and I'm not sure about him going. Like, he is gonna play Champions League football at Ajax. With the World Cup coming up next year, I think he might just want to stay, get the World Cup, get himself selected for the World Cup.
Make sure he has his place in the World Cup squad, and instead of moving and then being second choice somewhere, perhaps, or
I've only seen United linked to him, actually.
Yeah, I'm the same. I haven't seen too many other links with Anthony. Well, yeah, I think that's pretty much covers the Ajax transfer window and Ten Hag. So the final thoughts on Ten Hag then. Is he going to be a success for United? Is he going to put Man United back challenging? And is it a caveat case of he will do it if given the time, or is it just wait and see?
I think that he will need a lot of time. Like, maybe, I don't think it's gonna be a matter of weeks.
Like 3 years, perhaps. Do you think?
To get them back on title, like a title challenge, like, United as a club have been such a shit show in general that just a new manager might not even be enough to get them back on track.
I mean, we've seen that before. Every new manager's come in, it's this is the answer, and it never has been. So yeah, stuff needs to be changed above Ten Hag.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And I think he can lay down the foundations for like a title challenging club again. Like keep a high standard, make sure everyone is committed to the tactics, and it isn't like an ego squad, just like a cohesive squad. But the key factors for me, I wrote down time to adapt. Is the team fit enough to keep to his pressing, or will they break down like in a second half, or can they keep up with the pace and the pressing? Is there a commitment to the pressing? Like, are players willing to run the miles for him? Ten Hag's teams are always very compact, because that you will fall apart if the wing back steps up and the winger doesn't take over the man that's
doesn't drop back. Yeah,
exactly. So is the commitment there? And like, is there does United have the level of vision and technique within the squad that's required to play so attacking? And altogether, I don't think the level's quite there to be a title challenging team. But I think if the commitment to his tactics...
It's definitely not there at the moment. I totally agree. I mean,
no, of course.
With how good Chelsea, Arsenal, and Spurs have... Chelsea, I'm still not convinced. With how good Spurs and Arsenal have been in the transfer window, if Chelsea get the business done that we're getting linked to, where we should be pretty secure, it's going to be a challenge just to get top 4 this year. So,
I think a success for Ten Hag would be to get Champions League spots consistent in like 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah.
And then, like, it has been seen as very arrogant when he said that the Liverpool and City era might fall apart at one time. I think he said something like eras are there to break down or something. But I don't think he meant it that arrogantly. It's just at one point the Liverpool squad will age, or like Virgil van Dijk will leave, or
it's a fact of life. Everything comes to an end at some point. Yeah,
exactly. So if he gets the team ready to step up when those teams start to crack down a little, and I think the rivals in Spurs and Arsenal, they do seem to have a plan in place for now. Like their transfer windows have been so good for them. Chelsea, I'm not sure about them, but I think it would be a success if he gets Champions League football in his first season, and just gets the club back on track instead of the shit show it has been in the last few years.
Definitely. It sounds like you're saying about his high standards. It sounds like he'll also demand high standards of the people above him. So if it might, that was something that was being talked about when Conte was coming in. The fact that Conte will point the finger if things around him aren't correct, and perhaps Ten Hag will do the same if he's got high standards, especially coming from how well Ajax were run, football and wise. That
there have been some issues.
Some personnel issues, but football and wise, it's been brilliant for you in the last few seasons, and especially to be doing so well in the Champions League and the turnover of player that you had as well. If he's coming from that and then coming into United, maybe he'll hold them in a high regard in that way. Or not hold them up to a higher standard, not just the players but the people above them and the coaches as well.
And that's another key factor, I think. Are those people above him willing to change United back to pretty much a football club again, and not? They seem to see, the owners of Manchester United seem to see it as like a way to make easy money or something.
Yeah.
I think Old Trafford needs Leeds redoing for like 1 billion or so, 1 billion
Yeah, there's
pounds.
a lot of the local fans are saying that it's very run down at the moment. Yeah.
And the manager is often seen as some kind of savior, but if the standard within the whole club isn't there, if you aren't gonna fix that stadium, and if you're not gonna put in the effort to make Ten Hag succeed, it's gonna be a difficult story.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think United is a club where the culture does fit Ten Hag. Like, he's just attacking and entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
He's not like the character that Klopp can be at times, or Guardiola can be at times.
Mm-hmm.
So he might get slaughtered.
Both those teams love the manager for that reason. So it's great to have that sort of manager that, you know, it has no time for the press. Like, you'll always admire that when it's your manager. So as long as he's doing well on the pitch, that shouldn't become an issue.
Yeah, exactly, and yeah, it all comes down to, does he get the time to get his squad together? Do some players step up, or do leaders like think, oh well, we'll get top 6 and I'll get my transfer next year? So is there willingness to commit to Ten Hag there within the squad?
Yeah.
And then I think he can do a great job of bringing United back to top 4 again. I think that's a realistic ask for him.
Yeah. But yeah,
I think last year, after the transfer window, a lot of people did say that United did have a squad to because then they brought in Sancho and Ronaldo.
And Varane, yeah. It was meant to be a title challenging team, yeah.
So, like, it's not that all their players are still there. It's just they seem to either have commitment issues, or some of the leaders need to step up, and Ten Hag can do it on his own, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's a great way to wrap it up. Thanks so much, Riemer, for that really insightful thoughts on Ten Hag and the Ajax perspective of it all. United fans get excited. That was he could be the man as long as things are patient and go his way. Thanks so much, Riemer, for your time. And
thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Okay, so I'm now joined by George. Say hello, George.
Hello.
And we've got a very special guest, one of my mates from uni, who's now a TikTok sensation. It's Fez the Red. Fez, how are you doing? You're very welcome for your debut on the Just Another Football podcast.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to having a chat about United, and looking forward to the next season.
Yeah, well, this is it. I mean, anybody that's been following your rise into TikTok stardom will know what you're all about. You're controversial. You love a wee bait on the end of your hook, and yeah, like you're very pro United. I wouldn't say humble whatsoever. So I'm looking for some hot takes from you this evening.
No, I just speak facts. That's
straight facts.
Yeah, nothing but.
Well, beforehand, I was speaking with Riemer, our Dutch correspondent, about Ajax, and he was very, very, very positive about the impact Ten Hag has had. He said they were gonna. It might take him a bit of time, but he should be good. He holds him in very high regard. He might struggle with the press. That was the sort of just two takes that he said. With that in mind, do you think you got the right man? You were getting talks with Pochettino. Are you happy with Ten Hag?
Yeah, I think sort of out of all of the choices of managers, we're sort of in a weird situation with United where we had Ranić available. We sort of gave him that short-term contract because we sort of knew that he would be available at the end of the season, and that Poch would also most likely be available, and that there would be other candidates. And I think we've sort of had a lot of time to review and look into the candidates. And it seems like John Murtough, who's like sort of now in charge of all the footballing decisions at United, really favoured Ten Hag, looked at what he was doing in Europe with Ajax, and decided that he was the man to take us forward. And I think every fan at the club is happy with that decision.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just based on what's going on in the transfer window now, we're a little bit worried whether he'll be able to implement his style with the team. But we'll have to see.
Do you think, Fez, do you think it was the right decision appointing Rangnick at the time? Obviously, Ten Hag, very positive. You've dropped out of Champions League, though, with sort of Rangnick's performances. And obviously, there's a lot of talk about Conte at the time, even maybe as a short-term appointment. And I think there's quite a bit of talk how, Rangnick really didn't have too much impact or influence in getting in Ten Hag rather than someone else, like you said, the director you've got at the moment. What do you think it was? Do you think it just didn't work, the whole plan? Obviously, you've got your man now.
Yeah.
What cost is sort of I'm thinking.
I think it sort of did work out. I think obviously Conte is, in my opinion, Conte is the best manager in world football. Having him at United, I think he still would have done well for a short period. But I don't really think like his style and his philosophy really aligns with what the United way is. And sort of what Ollie did when he came in is try to sort of get back to our roots from compared to when we were with Mourinho. We're trying to bring in attacking football, playing the youth, and sort of, I mean, it's controversial, but with the signing of Ronaldo, that sort of whole philosophy kind of went out the window. And I think signing Conte now, like I say, with Murtough more in charge of footballing decisions, I think Conte would have just been a step back and would have been sort of short-term gain, long-term pain if we signed him. So I think the Ranić thing did work. It sort of helped us with restructuring the club. I think he sort of ruffled a few too many feathers for him to continue at the club, and I think it was the right decision to move him on.
Yeah, at the time, I thought it made sense because you rush into another 3-year or years contract with the manager that doesn't that like you knew the managers that you wanted. It was either Ten Hag or Pochettino, both were available in summer. Anything else, you're making some sort of compromise, and the season was already over, other than the top 4 race, and so to go and make another mistake on top of all the other mistakes isn't the right thing to do. It has cost you a season, and an embarrassing season sort of in the end, just how sort of all over the shop the team was. But everybody was talking up Rangnick whenever he came in. Like, there wasn't too many people saying bad about him. He was the hipster's choice.
Godfather of German football.
Yeah, exactly. So I like, with hindsight, it's terrible, but at the time, people are going, "This is a smart decision." And if Ten Hag, you've got the man you wanted now, so Ten Hag. There's a bit of pressure on Ten Hag now because they've rode off a season, especially to get him in, and so he has to be successful. Otherwise, you have rode off a season, missed out on Conte, who would have definitely brought about some sort of success, maybe not long term.
Yeah.
and it has to work, which I think Ten Hag can handle that pressure. It just like Ajax isn't a small club, but to go to be there and to play the football that he did, with the success in the Champions League and everything. But
I do wonder what the expectations will be next year as well. Like, what is success for Man United?
For context, Riemer said that you should be grateful to be top 4 next year.
Who said that?
The Dutch fella that we had on before. He's called Riemer. He says there's so much of a rebuild that needs to be done to get the way that Ten Hag would want to play. You should be accepting of a top 4 finish.
I understand that, but at the same time, United, we're not a team that aim for top 4. We're a team that aim to be contending, and that is the standard that Ten Hag is setting, and that's what he's looking to do. With the quality of players that are in the squad currently, we should be in the top 4. We should have finished in the top 4 last season, and although all other teams are getting their business done earlier than us, I still think we'll get our business sorted, and I think we should definitely be in the conversation at least by Christmas. It's going to take a lot of time to change the style of our play, and that's true, but we shouldn't be settling for aiming to try and scrape into the top 4. That's not sort of something that I think anyone as fans would accept, really. And that is the expectation for him. It's good. Like, we know it's going to take a few years to get back to challenging on all fronts, but we definitely should be up there within the conversation. I mean, there's chat about Arsenal being up there. No, not there.
I think Conte with the signings they've made currently.
Yeah, I think they're going to be a real threat. I think Tottenham are a real threat. Chelsea, I think they're starting to get some business done. I think Sterling is an amazing signing, but I think they've still got a lot left to do. So I think really looking at Chelsea and United, will be battling it out. It's gonna be tough, but I mean the competition's always going to be tough, and we should definitely be up there. That's my expectation for Ten Hag. But I think even though it was just 2 seasons ago with Ollie that we finished second place. I know the teams around us weren't exactly firing on all cylinders, but it just shows that, I mean, the squad that we had back then was shit. and we still managed to get up there. It's just the drop off compared to the next season was, I mean, it is challenging as well, because we've lost Pogba, Matic, a lot of experienced players. And obviously one of our star players for the future who's really meant to be coming in now, Mason Greenwood's not going to be there either. So there's so many players we haven't yet replaced and need replacing. I mean, it's going to be difficult, but that's still the standard that we have to aspire to. And I wouldn't be expecting any less.
Fair enough. So you're talking about transfers there and the players you need to replace. Who's going to make the cut of the current United squad? Who do you think is good enough to be around? I think it's unrealistic to get rid of all these players in the first transfer window. So who's going to be gone over the this summer transfer window and the next summer transfer window? Who's going to be able to stick it out?
Well, I think moving on a couple players, one that's already gone, Pogba. I love Pogba as a player. I love him. People sort of question his mentality. I think he's a good leader, but I think it's good that he's left the club. If I'm being honest, I think it's kind of sort of fit a progressive style around him. He is a bit of a system player. I think that's the same potentially with Ronaldo. It's just whether Ten Hag can get a system that does suit him. But I think players that are going to... Firstly, I think the reason why we haven't been successful for a lot of these years comes down to me, the most important position on the pitch, We've splashed so much money on our defence. I can't remember exactly. I think it's like 200 to 400 million. I mean, that's a massive gap, but we spent a load of money on our defence. Keep splashing on defenders every single season, but we're not changing the goalkeeper. Say it's not a big problem.
No,
Making all these saves, but always conceding all these goals. I think that is our biggest issue, and that hasn't been resolved for 10 years, and we haven't really been successful. Our last big trophy that we won was the Europa League, which had Sergio Romero in goal, which is sort of says it all. And I think Mourinho said himself that he saw Dean Henderson as the future. I'm not saying that he's definitely the right man, but I can't see how Ten Hag can play his football with De Gea in there. But
I sorry to cut you off.
We'll
I wasn't aware of this fraction within the United squad on Man United Twitter until I started following you, Fez.
Yeah.
I like a lot of the tweets you're liking or commenting under. I've noticed are all around De Gea, compilations of De Gea not passing out from the back.
Yeah.
Compilations of sort of tactical analysis of how a more proactive goalkeeper would have would help out Maguire, help out the defence, and step up that way. It's something I hadn't noticed until sort of following you.
Yeah, because I think a lot of mainstream or like I'd say a lot of casual fans look at Maguire. They like to have a little laugh, think, "Oh, this guy's shit." When you look at him playing for Leicester, you can see he was a world-class player, and then especially when he's playing with England. I mean, Jordan Pickford is not a quality goalkeeper, but he's somewhat of a modern goalkeeper who can sweep, who can leave his line and like try and calm his defence down a little bit. And the difference when De Gea is playing is just massive. You can see it, and it's no surprise that when it comes to the national team, Jose Enrique, one of the best managers currently in world football, doesn't even pick him in his squad.
Yeah.
And
he's Roberto Sanchez and stuff ahead of him. Yeah,
David Raya and Rooney I think is the other one, but he's nowhere near the squad. And for him to be sort of in captaincy talks for United next season is it's not. I don't think we can really play possession football with him. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it goes in pre-season, but personally, I don't see him surviving pre-season.
I think strangely enough, I raised my eyebrows pretty strongly when you said that the one position, is the goalkeeper. But reflecting on it, you're absolutely right. He doesn't come off his line, ever. No. Really, he's really reluctant in terms of sweeping and rushing it. Yeah, claim crosses, he's not great. He is. Don't get it wrong. He is a great, in fact, verging on world class shot stopper, and I think that's fair to say. This season, and potentially a few seasons ago as well. What I would say is when you've got a slow centre back like Maguire, that sweeping is really important. And Chelsea, as a Chelsea fan, I know we've had some goalkeeper calamities. It's probably fair to say. Since Czech, and Mendy had a great first season because he is a fantastic shot stopper. I also question Mendy going forward with this Chelsea team simply because of that reason again, in terms of passing out from the back, controlling the defence. I don't really see that, and I don't see that from De Gea either, who seems to pass on the blame a lot when he concedes. It's an interesting point. I thought it was going to be the CDM role, but
no.
Yeah, it's funny. Like they always say, like having a good goalkeeper brings a confidence to your defense.
Yeah. And 100%.
And with passing out the back going to be so important. And also the price tag of Harry Maguire as well. Like you want to try and make him better, and if you can do that by bringing in a goalkeeper, I mean, like Alisson is one of the main reasons Liverpool are so good.
Yeah. That is exactly what I was going to say. A lot of fans like to big up Van Dijk, saying he's the reason that changed Liverpool. He transformed Liverpool. It's not exactly Van Dijk, because even when he transferred to Liverpool, people were questioning Van Dijk, or spending all this money on this centre back. Not too sure. He looks slow. Playing with Alisson behind him, he's what's transformed Liverpool. Look at all the mistakes that Karius made in the Champions League. Bringing in Alisson, who I think is by far the best goalkeeper in world football.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's the one that's made the difference for Liverpool, and just watching him, and he is what a modern goalkeeper should be, and it helps the line push up so much further forward. Makes great saves. Yeah,
Well, it's
that's
so
what we
much
need at United.
So much to the point where it was noted that Liverpool were changing the way they were defending. They'd ran the numbers and had calculated that it's better off that the centre backs are covering the more central and narrow options where the XG is going to be higher if you get a shot away, and letting shots being taken from slightly harder angles because they back the goalkeeper.
That's how it should be.
And you can and yeah, they've been really
That
good.
can only happen. That can only happen if the goalkeeper narrows down the angle, which is something that with De Gea, I don't think he doesn't come off. He works well when he's able to stay on his goal line because he can trust his quick shot stopping to get across. I think there's a clip that I retweeted that sort of sums it up perfectly. I think it was the FA Cup final against Chelsea. Hazard's running through our defence. He's through 1-on-1. Phil Jones is defending. He makes the slide tackle because De Gea doesn't come off his line at all. He's glued to his line. Phil Jones is thinking, shit, this is an easy goal for Hazard. He has no danger. So he lunges in, slide tackles, fouls him, penalty. Whereas if that was Alisson, he would have swept that ball easily and just kicked it out or caught it. So it just brings on like panic in the defence that sort of caused Jones to make that challenge where maybe De Gea would have saved it. It's very unlikely, but that's sort of his style, and it doesn't really bring on confidence to the defence. It gives the attackers a better percentage because when De Gea's not on his 100% shot stopping form, which for the last 5 years I don't think he has been, it just gives the attacker a massive advantage.
Well, it's either you let the striker have a shot and you back your shot stopping skills, or if you're proactive about it, you can just stop the shot happening in the first place.
Exactly.
Exactly. Is there anybody that United have been linked with that you would want to sign in the goalkeeping position? I mean, you've missed out on the next great world-class goalkeeper and Bazunu going to Southampton. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets linked to United very soon. But watch this space.
I actually quite like him.
He's brilliant.
Yeah, I think currently there aren't really any goalkeepers that would
you're getting linked to that.
Seem any good.
You're getting linked to that Lazio Albanian guy that Chelsea are getting linked to. I have no clue if he's any good.
Well, from what I've seen, it seems like he's a bit of a B-Tech De Gea, which makes me just shit my pants. I'm not looking forward to that at all. Like he seems like he's a decent shot, like quite a good shot stopper, but doesn't leave his line. Which is not looking good. But I think maybe that's something that Ten Hag's recognised and potentially is looking to change his way of playing. But I can't see how it's going to work. But the number one goalkeeper that I think that all fans would love, and I think is probably number 2 goalkeeper in the world right now, so obviously it's going to be expensive, is Mike Maignan from AC Milan. But I mean, he's only just recently signed for them and he's just won Serie A with them, so he'd cost a bomb.
Yeah.
He would be my number 1 target next season. I'd go all out for him, just like Liverpool went all out for Alisson. Pay the money, get him in, and it would transform our team. I'm sure.
Fair.
I wouldn't make the mistake. Sorry, but there's players like Unai Simon.
Don't buy from Atletico Bilbao. They'll see you coming.
That is the only recommendation. Even though he looks, I'm sure I'm better his passing and his playing out for the back, because obviously every Spanish team does so. His percentiles would be up in the 90s. But a little bit of pressure applied to those Spanish goalkeepers, they crumble. So stay away.
Yeah,
there's a lot of rumours about French goalkeepers though as well. So I think French goalkeepers quite and defenders really flap at a lot of things. So
yeah,
I mean, but I'd still take Maignan and just see how it goes.
So yeah, where is there? So we've covered goalkeeper. Moving forward, then, the centre backs. I mean, you've mentioned Harry Maguire. Do you think he's gonna cut it?
I'm really interested to see what happens with him. Actually, I think the captaincy. I do think he's going to lose the captaincy.
I think he should as well, for his own good. I think he should.
Yeah, I think if Ronaldo does stay, I can definitely see Ten Hag giving Ronaldo the captaincy. But I think probably that makes the most logical sense is giving Bruno Fernandes the captaincy. Because I think he's going to be a mainstay in the team. His injury record's impeccable. He's the one who's always turned up when we've been playing poorly. Obviously, he hasn't had the best of seasons last year, but you can see he's always given it his best on the pitch. He's always backed the manager. He's always backed his players. Harry Maguire, I think he will do well under Ten Hag. It's just we're linked to Lisandro Martinez, and it looks like that deal's going to come through.
Yeah,
I'm just not I'm not sure how they'd work together because they both seem like players who like to be sort of on the front foot defending. Whereas I think with Martinez, perhaps maybe a Varane would work better with him, as Martinez more of the aggressor and Varane more the sweeper.
Riemer was very positive about the thought of Martinez and Maguire partnering up. Whenever I was speaking with him in the first half, he was saying how Maguire will help the height issue that Martinez has, although his aerial duels are very good. So it's not necessarily an issue. But the other thing Riemer mentioned was how important the fullbacks are to the Ten Hag system, and how at times they can end up in sort of attacking midfield spots, a bit like sort of Trent's movements. It can be a very fluid system Ten Hag's like to play, and the fullbacks getting involved are so important. He was surprised that Mazzarri wasn't United weren't really linked to him, because he'd be the perfect right back, done and dusted and sorted, and yet it doesn't seem to be too many links for right backs, and it's definitely out of the two left back and right back, it's definitely the bigger issue, I would have thought.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I noticed that most of the rumours that I've seen have been centre backs rather than full backs, and I think that is quite telling. Even if it is media driven.
Sorry, George. Yeah, that's a good point. Is one thing about United, it always this transfers still seem to be very much fan led, and sort of Twitter led. I still think they were swayed massively between Pochettino and Ten Hag, because all of a sudden Ten Hag was the new exciting shiny toy that the fans got really excited for more than Pochettino. And
media definitely plays a factor in how.
But
United
they need to
operate.
get away from that, like and like they could like signing Martinez. It remains to be seen if that would be the right decision to prioritize or not. It's not that it doesn't make total sense, but it does seem to be a trend with United that they're still very focused on the fans' opinion of which areas they should be signing, and it's sort of whichever group of fans shouts the loudest about their particular disgruntlement. That seems to be what the club goes with. I do think if United Twitter had been all behind Pochettino, it'd be Pochettino in the job, not Ten Hag.
I think with the sort of stuff that's released in the media, I think it has changed a bit over the last year, really, sort of going from Woodward's reign to Murtaugh's reign. I think Woodward was very sort of cautious about how United looked in the media. I would always be leaking information saying we weren't interested in this player when we were. sort of stuff. Like with Thiago Alcantara, we were very heavily linked with him. I think he was actually confirmed that he's viewing houses in Manchester. I think he might actually have a house in Manchester currently. But all the things put in the paper afterwards weren't linked with him at all. I think the same with like Sadio Mane. There's been so many examples, but sort of under Berta, it's more. I mean, obviously, a lot still gets leaked because it's Man United, but it seems like it comes out at a later date, and it's not so much dragged out, and it's not so much covered if we miss the player saying that we aren't interested. And I think in terms of right back, which obviously is a gaping hole in our team at the moment, I still believe that we will sign a right back this summer. I think it's more that we're just waiting to we're just waiting to probably see if we can get some sales, because it's not a priority position. I think we're definitely looking to offloading Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Brandon Williams. I think until those deals are finalised, I don't think we'll be going for anyone. I think that the Malaysia deal was only accelerated because they had agreed a deal with him already, and he was off to them. So that sort of made us act a bit quicker.
Yeah.
So I think Tellez's days at United are numbered. I think he's certain to go. I think Williams is another one who's certain to go. I think sort of between Dalot and Wan-Bissaka, I think Dalot could potentially play sort of that inverted Mazraoui role. But I think when he first came into the team under Ranić, he did look good. He's got very good.
He was seriously hyped up whenever you signed him. He was 18 whenever you signed him, and it was. I remember Statman Dave doing a video on him, and he was super excited by him. So yeah, he has the pedigree there to be a great right back.
But sort of since that game, he's since the first breakthrough under Ranić, really, he's just not really cutting it. And I think even like watching him live, he doesn't fill you with confidence with his defensive ability. But his sort of unique style, I think Ten Hag could definitely get something out of it. He wouldn't be sort of my starting right back. And I think especially if we're linked with a player like Anthony, or even like playing someone like Sancho on the wing, I'd love us to have a fullback who can actually overlap, cross a ball in, which Delot's worst trait is his crossing. He cannot cross to save his life. But I mean, it's a bit of cope, but it's also thinking like Luke Shaw was shocking with his crossing, and then all of a sudden something happened one season and he became really
top
good
of
with
the
his
chance
crossing.
creation charts and everything.
Yeah. And I think Luke Shaw's going to be probably. Yeah, I think Luke Shaw will be one of our most important players next season. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. He's got
back to English Roberto Carlos.
Yeah, back to Shawberto for sure next season. I think with a bit of competition with Malaysia, I think it's going to really light a firework up his ass and get him running. I've even seen reports that Ten Hag's asking for a monthly BMI check. And he's making sure that they all have their food with the United chefs and everything. So I don't think Luke will be on any donuts and getting out of shape anytime soon if he wants to keep his place, that is.
So moving on then, I think I can't think of really any other main holes other than the one I'm about to speak with, but if you think of any, do say them, Fez. The main one is Ronaldo. Do you think Ten Hag really wants him? Do you think and George, what do you think about him coming to Chelsea? I mean, lads, let's just discuss Ronaldo. Do we want him as Chelsea fans? Come
on.
I'm looking at him going, we're really struggling in the market for a top class striker. He has scored the goals, but if Lukaku didn't work, I don't see how Ronaldo was going to work. If he's not going to do the running, I'm not convinced by Ronaldo. I think Chelsea played best whenever Havertz was our number 9, a lot more fluid, dropping deep. I just can't see Ronaldo doing
No,
that.
that's true, but you can't compare Ronaldo to Lukaku. Like, come on now.
Lukaku's 10 times the player Ronaldo is at the moment. Genuinely, I genuinely believe that. As a complete player, I would rather have Ron at my. You don't know me, Fez, but
Are you a Chelsea fan?
Yeah, we're
I'm
both
a
Chelsea fans.
Big Ronaldo.
Oh
I'm a
my.
big
Have you
Ron fan. Genuinely, no. I would go as far as to say that I would rather Ron than Tuchel at this point. But to move on from that, I do think Ronaldo would be a good signing. I just don't think he would play. And I don't think that's, in terms of a dressing room, I don't think you can have that with Ronaldo. I'm not saying he wouldn't play because he's not good enough. I'm saying he wouldn't play because I think Havertz would be favoured, especially by someone like Tuchel, who kind of does have. I do think he does have favourites and he has styles of play and he doesn't move from that philosophy. So Ronaldo in a dressing room where he's not playing,
I
as
also
soon as
think
something goes wrong, it's going to be a problem.
I also
I'm
think,
gonna have to cut you off.
So-
a sec.
so-
I
well,
think
one sec,
if
one
any
sec,
team-
Fez, sorry.
No, I have to
Okay.
I have to hit back at George at this. I think if any team in the league that Ronaldo can fit into, I would have to say that it's a team that are playing like a 3-5 really, 5 at the back system that can accommodate for Ronaldo and have players around him who are going to work. I think he would fit in if to any team. It would be Chelsea right now. I don't see any other team really.
You thinking
that
of
he
like
would
a
fit
two up
into?
top with a attacking midfielder and behind, and those other two players doing the work for Ronaldo. Werner
Well, if you
running his
just-
socks off beside him.
Well, if you just had Mount and someone else up
Sterling.
there with him, I think he would. Mount and Sterling and Ronaldo, I think would work perfectly. Ronaldo is not a finished player. He's going to score goals wherever he goes. I think the only problem with him is that at United, especially, is that where he goes, he has to be the system. You have to accommodate for him. With the setup and the players that we have, we couldn't accommodate for him well enough. But he's still going to score goals because the team will have to suit to assist him. I think a team like Chelsea can accommodate for that. I think they're one of the only teams that could, and I would be scared if he went to Chelsea. Any other team like you can go to, I don't care. Well, I wouldn't want him to go to Barca because that would be a bit snaky.
I would agree with you in terms of that, and my only worry would be Tuchel rather than him playing well. I know he's going to score goals.
Yeah.
He would score goals anywhere. Tuchel, it doesn't seem to deal with egos particularly well. So I think when I think it's inevitable that he would be ostracised or at least dropped from the team. When that happens, I think Chelsea go into shutdown mode. Factions with Ronaldo. There's a lot of Chelsea players, a lot of young Chelsea players that will certainly look up to him, probably side with him. In a lot of key decision making, and I don't think that's healthy for a club.
And that's what happened at United. Because it's rumored anyway that like it was the game with Man City, and it's a rumor, it's a loose rumor. If you want to believe it, you can believe it. But it's thought that Man City game, Ranić wanted to mix it up. He wanted to try and use Bruno and Pogba sort of as the attackers and drop Ronaldo because he wanted pressing in that game. And Ronaldo did not like it at all, and he flew out to Portugal. He just flew home because he was told that he was dropped. He flew home and he apparently told the boards that like, if you keep Ranić in the job, he's leaving. So he just kicked off, and that sort of definitely created a divide in the dressing room, and I can understand that. But I think with Tuchel as well, his squad rotation is probably the best out of all managers. I think he's insane. Like the way he's able to sort of slip in any player into his system and for them to play, especially with their defenders. I mean, you got players like Chalobah who fill in and look comfortable. Who's sort of in probably under any other team or system would be exposed. So I don't have any concerns like how Tuchel would be able to rotate Ronaldo into his team and keep him happy whilst playing Champions League football.
The way I envisage the perfect use of Ronaldo is like a super sub or for like very specific games. So it's just whether or not Ronaldo has can humble himself to do that. And especially with the new 5 subs rule, I think a player like Ronaldo coming on as like a finisher, like using him in particular parts of games, I think he'd be. If he was going to be used in that way and he was going to be a team player and be happy to play that, I'd happily sign Ronaldo as long as he wasn't on stupid wages. But there's no way that's happening. That's what puts me off him. But
that's why he's the best. That's why he's the top goal scorer of all time. Because he's not going to settle for that, and he's going to keep pushing himself to be the best. And you can't be the best if you're getting limited numbers. And that's what I keep saying. I love Ronaldo, and he is for me, he's the greatest player of all time. And I think he's even shown that in the Premier League with his numbers. It's just like for the good of the squad is whether that is sort of a net positive or a net negative. And I think for Chelsea, it would be a massive positive. But I think for United, it depends on sort of, it does depend. I think Ten Hag could still get the best out of him. And he's just got some nagging injuries that I'm a little bit concerned at. Is like, if you're going to base your system around a player who does get quite injured, and with the amount of games we're going to be playing,
for maybe more the pressure.
Thursday nights,
he's just not going to do the running for you, and that would be a massive part of Ten Hag's team. So yeah,
the Chelsea fans saying that they wouldn't take him. I mean, did you watch the geezer last year?
Yeah.
I wouldn't take him though. Like I said, if
you were watching Werner trying to score from 5 yards and miss, like you're taking
Werner came in clutch when we needed him most, and the rest of the team let him down against Real Madrid. You know, Timo stepped up.
I love Timo, but he's some of those misses.
He's not a footballer. He can't kick a ball. If you can't kick a ball, you're not a footballer.
Man City fans claim that's the same with Sterling though. So I don't see that personally.
No, I don't see that either.
I think they're similar players, but I think Sterling is a lot better. I think I think that they occupy the same sort of run, same sort of position on the pitch. But yeah, miles better. But yeah, is there any other transfers or areas of the pitch that you're looking to fill up? You've expressed your desire for a new goalkeeper. Is there anything we haven't touched on?
Is it another year of McFred? Is that what we're resigning?
No chance. I think, as you all know, we're signing the best midfielder in world football.
If Chelsea don't get in there ahead of you,
he doesn't want to go to Chelsea. He wants us. He wants the Ten Hag project. I think.
Wow. That's some claim.
I think he is. I honestly do think he is. I think he'll come into our team and he'll completely transform us. It's been over a decade since we've had a competent midfield. Well, a midfielder like him, really. Yeah. I would say. I think he's one that will set the way that Ten Hag wants to play, and is crucial. I'm amazed that we even have a slight chance of signing him. I think if you told any United fan at the start of the window that we had a chance of signing De Jong, they tell you to wake up and stop dreaming. Yeah. But the fact that it's even talked that it's close to happening, it's just Barcelona seem like they're not actually paying him the deferred wages that they owed him, and that's what's holding up the deal currently. If we do sign, I think everyone knows that we'd still need someone beside him who can play the way that we want to play and help keep the ball. It's going to be interesting how he uses Eriksen and Van de Beek, but we do have players currently who can play there.
I laugh so hard whenever Van de Beek still doesn't get a look in. I just get the feeling this guy is just he's done. Like he made a bad move. Like a lot of people feel sorry for him, but I think he's just so foolish to have gone to United. I think it's such a big mistake.
I think that sums up Woodward though.
Yeah.
That just sums up Woodward.
Yeah.
He was one that Ollie didn't want. Ollie didn't really want Van der Beek. I think it was well reported that Jack Grealish was our number one priority signing that window. He wanted Grealish. The second choice was Van der Beek. He thought at the end of the window it's either Van der Beek or nobody. So he took Van der Beek, but it's obviously he didn't want him, so he didn't even give him any game time to sort of send a message to Woodward. Look, you got to go with my players, or like I'm just not even going to use them, and they're going to be a waste of time, which is unfair on the player because obviously they must have had conversations and was promised a sort of role.
Yeah,
but I mean, with the way that Bruno Fernandes was playing that season anyway, I mean he was just insane.
Yeah,
but you still could have fit him into play. I do feel bad for Donny. I think he'll surprise a few next season if he does. Well, he will get minutes. Yeah. I think he will surprise a few because you can see when he's playing like quick football at times when we're playing with United, you can see he's got that intelligence. He's just not
Ajax,
really
some of the runs
a creative player.
Were brilliant.
Yeah, he's more like an intelligent, like he keeps the ball really well. He makes intelligent runs. He's not really like Bruno, who's going to play like a long pass or like a creative pass. He's more flicks, making runs into the box.
Reminds me a bit of Aaron Ramsey.
I think he'll do well. Yeah, he is a little bit like Ramsey. I can't really describe a player that's like him.
He's certainly. I mean, he's certainly better. Sorry to cut you off a bit there, Vaz. He's certainly better than your other options. You know, if Fred is considered maybe a creative player, I know he can be holding in that six, but double pivot as it's referred to, and I don't know what your thoughts are, Fez, on a double pivot, whether you need just one sitting or whether you need that too. But I think with the signing of Eriksen there, it complicates things for Van der Beek unless he's going to sit a little bit deeper. Because I think Eriksen's absolutely superb. I think that's an absolute steal of a player, even if he's got subpar fitness. I think Eriksen can change a game with a free kick or and obviously that subpar fitness comes from a very tragic incident. But I think he's a great player, and I think he's a great signing.
I'm skeptical about it because he wasn't looking too good at Spurs, and he done okay at Inter Milan, and he's done well at Brentford, but he's doing well Brentford standards, and he was always gonna as long as he was fit, he was always gonna look good in a Brentford team, making them tick. I think if he's used as like a bit part player, as you say, coming on to make a difference, last 20 minutes, free kicks, set pieces, absolutely. But like at 30 years old, I can just see him like I can see him like Mata has been for the last sort of couple of seasons. I can see him like doing that sort of role. And just being just being there.
Do you say Mata or Matic?
Mata.
Mata was thin. Mata should have left the club a long time ago. Christian Eriksen still has so much to offer. I think he'll be what. I think the main.
I don't think he'd be like Mata straight away, but I can just see what I don't know what the deal is, but if he stays long term, I don't think Eriksen is gonna be at the Champions League level for too much longer.
Really?
I think the main thing is that we've been in. Well, it's reported Ten Hag's been in discussions with De Jong for like a month plus at this point now. I think the main thing that's come out of those conversations to even give him a slight chance to join us is that we are going to build our midfield around him. So signing Eriksen then, and it seems like he's very happy to look forward to like playing with De Jong.
Yeah,
there is a plan in place to get the best out of De Jong, obviously with Eriksen in some capacity. So I'm not concerned at all with this signing. I think he's going to be a quality addition. I think he'd get minutes in any team in the Premier League currently. I think to write him off as Mata is ridiculous, to be honest. Like he's unreal what he did at Brentford. He tore apart Chelsea for one, and he tore apart United. And I think just signing De Jong, like you're saying, with the double pivot, I think it's more going to be like how he used his Ajax team when De Jong was there. He played alongside, I think it was Lasse Schöne. It was more like he wasn't like it, so. De Jong sort of plays as the deepest of the two, but did run forward, and
Yeah.
Schürrle was more of a playmaker who had sort of the long passes, was sort of almost box to box, quite creative himself. It's whether Eriksen can fill that role, sort of in so-called pivot. That's what sort of a lot of fans are speculating and sort of thinking we might get run over if we try and play those two in a pivot, which sort of made sense of being linked to players like Ruben Neves, who's just going to be way too expensive to sign.
My prediction for speaking with Riemer, he was saying, yeah, it's going to be double pivot with like a 10 in there. I would have thought it would be De Jong with Fred in the pivot, and then Eriksen or Van de Beek ahead of him. That with the players that are currently there, that would have been my thought process as to how Eriksen would be used, or play like a more traditional three, De Jong sitting the deepest, but has license to come forward with it, and then either Fred again, or McSauce, with Eriksen as the more attacking of the two, and Van de Beek as well. I mean, Eriksen. What could be interesting, really attacking, is De Jong sitting with Van de Beek and Eriksen as the two free eights, and just have a license to roam. But
the problem with that is
what I'd say is do not rule off Bruno Fernandes.
Oh yeah, okay? I forgot all about him.
Do not rule off Bruno Fernandes. He, in his first season in the Premier League, he shat all over Frank Lampard's records. Okay, this is a quality player we're talking about. He's going to be probably the captain. Probably, if Ronaldo,
no, you're right. He will be. He will play at 10. You're right.
So it would be Bruno or Eriksen, obviously, as they rotate. But I mean, either one of them could still play out on the wing, on the right wing, if we don't get in Antony. I mean, Eriksen did his best work for Tottenham, I think, on the right of the three, behind the striker.
I don't think he's that player anymore. I think he struggled I'd love to hear a Tottenham fan's opinion on Eriksen.
Yeah,
I thought
I prefer him deeper.
Yeah,
I would prefer him deeper. But I mean, even watching like Bruno play, I mean, for one game for United, Bruno did start on the left wing, and that was probably his best game under Ranić. So I still wouldn't be surprised if one of them did play on the wing at some point in like when you're just rotating players, so they can both play either role. But definitely do not write off Bruno. I think he's going to be massively improved, and Ten Hag with some sort of specifics on where he should be pressing, because at times he runs around like a headless chicken, and sort of instructed like patterns of play where he's not just hoofing the ball a lot of the time, and where they do. I mean, the thing that Ten Hag seems to do with all of his teams, and how he's able to sort of create systems around the players' qualities, which is why I'm not really too concerned, because we do have quality players. It's just how he gets the best out of Bruno is definitely going to be interesting, and I'm looking forward to that one.
So to conclude on this, because I think we're coming up to an hour or so. What's your prediction then for United this coming season?
I'm saying league expectations. I'm saying, well, minimal expectations. I mean, top four is an absolute minimum. Top four in the Premier League. I'm saying Europa League.
Fez, before at the top of the show, you're saying it's league title or nothing. So
I'm saying we're challenging.
You're challenging.
It could still be a close title race. No,
say it with your chest, Fez. Come on.
I'm saying by Christmas we're still in with a chance of the league.
Okay.
A lot happens after Christmas, especially if you're running deep into the Europa League, and we've lost as many players as we can. I'm saying bare minimum is top four, and I think that's still going to be challenging with Europa League going on. But we definitely should still be contending. I'm saying that I'd like us to be. Fuck it, go on then. I'll say second place in the Prem.
Yes, that's what we wanted.
Behind
I'm saying minimum expectations. Top four Prem. I'm
Right.
saying Europa League, we have to win that with our squad. FA
that's
Cup,
big enough, yeah.
FA Cup, I'm saying at least get into at least semi-finals, and
Oh, you bottled it.
between
Yeah,
the FA Cup and Carabao,
Yeah.
FA Cup and
Semi-final.
Carabao, I'd want us to get to a final.
A
between
final
all
out
of
of
them.
that's fair enough.
We'll just final out of the two. And I think that's okay for season one. I think next season though, I think that's league title, that's semi-finals, Champions League. There's no excuses at that point.
Brilliant.
Superb. I love that.
Well, yeah, that's the hot takes we wanted. That's great, Fez. Thanks for coming on. I mean, your socials, Fez the Red on everything. Is it Instagram, TikTok? I mean, you're the one that should be shouting us out, and not the other way around here. Like, you're a big time player.
Big time player. Nah, I think if you want to catch me on anywhere, probably TikTok's the most used place. It's just Fez the Red, like you said.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks for coming on, Fez.
Thanks for having me, lads.
And yeah, we'll see you next time. Hope you we're not sure when we'll do another one over the summer, but we're trying to plan a couple episodes. So
yeah, get me on with that Ajax lad when we sign Martinez and Anthony for him, and I'll give him a good.
We'll definitely get we might get you on for maybe a Liverpool Man United one or something like that. We'll see how it's gonna go here. Maybe the World Cup get you on to talk about Wales.
Yeah,
something like that.
I'll
anyway, great having you on.
Cheers for having me, lads.
Yeah, and yeah, take care.